All right, so here's part two, the rest of this discussion. So we talked about why is free T4 low, free T3 maybe high. Why would, given that she's taking 1.5 times the amount of T4 that somebody would take and 2 times the amount of T3 that somebody would take, why wouldn't she have higher levels of free hormone, right? You would think that you'd saturate the binding receptors and there'd be plenty of free hormone. And you could say, well, maybe there is a lot of free T3 available, but this is on with somebody who's on 2 times the daily dose or daily production level of T3. So you would, one of the things I said was you could look at the thyroid T3 uptake, which is a reflection of thyroid binding globulin. The problem is it wasn't run, so if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. But what they did run is their sex hormone binding globulin, which is twice the lab high range, which means there's so much hormone binding globulin in the system, it's binding up a lot of the hormone, so not as much can become free. Now, why is the hormone binding globulin so high? Well, one is they're overloaded in thyroid hormone, but part two is they are overloaded in sex hormones. Why are they overloaded in sex hormones? Because they have a level of tissue hypothyroidism going on that they can't generate sex hormones appropriately. And so because they can't generate sex hormones appropriately, what are they on? They're on sex hormone replacement therapy. And so now because they're increasing their sex hormones that they're taking as a hormone supplement or medication, the binding globulins are going up. As the binding globulins are going up, you have more carrier molecules and less hormones free. And that's why, even though somebody might say these numbers are normal, technically, if you had this much thyroid hormone in the system, there should be even more free hormone available, but there isn't. So what is the impact on the tissues? Do their labs show that they're optimized? Well, it's hard to tell. This is a person who's taking 18 different supplements to help optimize their blood work that they're running. And so is the supplementation optimizing them, or is it manipulating the lab work? I think it's manipulating the lab work. 2, we can look at if they truly had optimized thyroid physiology, shouldn't they be able to make appropriate levels of sex hormones? I would think so. Shouldn't they be able to bring cholesterol out of the bloodstream, convert it in the mitochondria of the adrenal gland into pregnenolone, which can then be made into progesterone or other hormones? They should, but they can't. So that means even though somebody's manipulated the blood levels of T4 and T3, it's not optimizing the tissue level. And so this is a person who's needing to take a couple different anti-inflammatories, including LDN. The other thing we can see on the limited labs that were done recently on these doses was that the liver enzymes are elevated. So why would liver enzymes be elevated if you've optimized their thyroid physiology? And in their history, their liver enzymes weren't elevated, but on this higher dose, they are elevated. So that tells us that we don't have great liver function, liver physiology. And when you look at markers of mitochondrial function, if we'd optimize their mitochondrial function, shouldn't we have, or if we optimize their thyroid values because we've manipulated the blood levels of thyroid hormone, shouldn't we have higher state of mitochondrial function? And what we see is the opposite. We see reduced markers of mitochondrial function, not making more energy. And this is a person who's chronic tiredness, fatigue, anxiety, depression. So this is a person who, despite having both their thyroid hormone levels optimized with T4 and T3, remember it's 1.5 times the amount the gland would typically make of T4 and 2 times the amount of T3 that the body would make in any given day. Even though somebody's optimized their blood levels, they still have not only signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism and signs and symptoms of hyperthyroidism, but their labs indicate both hyper and hypothyroid types tissue indicators. And that's a result of, all the tissues have the ability to regulate a little bit differently in that cell stress, even in a homeostatic response. So I don't think we're doing it. The other thing is, not only were the thyroid values thyroid labs manipulated, but the sex hormones were manipulated as well. So is this person truly optimized? Well, if they need 17, 18 supplements, their labs still don't look great. If they need 5, 6, 7 different medications to manipulate blood values in place, and they have hypothyroid signs and symptoms, and some hyperthyroid signs and symptoms, and they're just struggling to feel well, I don't care what those blood values show, she is not optimized. So I would say in a situation like this, somebody manipulated lab values into a range that makes them feel more comfortable about their client, but they're not optimizing them, okay? That's not optimization. That's not what we should be doing in functional medicine. And people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. If you're on thyroid hormone medication, T4, and you're not feeling well on that dose, despite a normalized TSH and free T4, and somebody decides, well, we're going to look at your total T3 and your free T3 and your reverse T3, and they see that you're increasing the conversion of T4 to reverse T3 and decreasing the conversion of T4 to T3, the answer there shouldn't be to manipulate T3 into range. It should be to ask the better question, which is, why are these cells and tissues not adaptively converting that T4 into T3? There must be a reason. There must be some type of cell stress response that the cells don't want to do it. And if we ask better questions, then we can help fix that person. So what do we need to do for this person is one of the things that we're going to need to do is reduce the 17 or 18 supplements. We got to get their doctors to start reducing this excessive dose of thyroid hormone medication, figure out who this person is without all this stuff in their system, and then start looking at their diet, their lifestyle factors to determine what's creating the biggest amount of stress. Right now, probably the biggest thing creating stress on this person's physiology isn't how they live and their lifestyle and their habits. I've already talked to that person about what their habits are. The biggest thing probably creating problems for their physiology and why it doesn't work and function well is because of the way they're being medicated. Because if you create this excessive hormone surge in somebody's physiology, especially when there's some level of cell stress response, you're going to exacerbate it. And they may have done a lot of things to improve their sleep or try to improve their sleep, try to improve their breathing, try to improve their diet, work their fitness routine, all the things that Dr. Kelly and I talk about in the book, The Thyroid Debacle. But if you're overstimulating their sympathetic nervous system with all of this thyroid medication, there's no way they're going to be able to heal and repair. There's no way they're going to be able to have a healthy gut and GI tract. There's no way they're going to sleep and recover appropriately. There's no way their thyroid gland will ever recover. And there's no way to restore normal thyroid physiology in people. So this, unfortunately, I see a lot of this coming to my office. This is not anything new that comes to see me, but I think this is the state that we're in. And I don't think it's necessarily that people are doing this to try and harm somebody. I think the intention is good, that they're trying to figure out what this magic dose is, and the thought process is if we just give more, that'll fix it. But that's not how the physiology works. We need to start asking better questions. When the amount of T4 that the body would typically make in any given day isn't converting to T3 appropriately, we have to stop assuming that the body is broken and can't do it, and we still need to start asking better questions like, why might that not be going on? Is it because I'm taking too much thyroid hormone medication? Is it because I have other stressors that are creating this danger response? Infections, toxins, trauma, emotional stress, disrupted sleep patterns, environmental toxicity. We have to ask those questions. I hope this helps. I know this is a 2-part Thyroid Thursday. It's a bit long, but I hope you kind of hung in there till the end. If you have any questions, put them below wherever you watch the video, and I'll try and get some answers to you. All right, take care.